January 26, 2020. It was a one-man army.
My uncle Heath, what a fucking legend. Job man is like, 300...
Perhaps there are certain organizations that have vested interests in spreading fear about something that's not really a big deal. One is a choice, says other kills people. Right. But suicide is not a choice when you're forced to stay in your home for years on end. You cannot work. You cannot put food on your table. You cannot have meaning. The one thing that human beings need in this world to survive is meaning. Everything else is an option. Meaning is the most essential thing. Why do you think welfare states all end up in the gutter? Why do you think people end up so incredibly deficient in any kind of integrity or virtue or anything productivity when you have people given things, handouts without any kind of purpose, any kind of honor? That is not even a man. That's a beast. That is an animal. Let's check out these comments. All this abuse I had. I was the only person. Do you remember SARS? Do you remember the Russians were going to attack us? Do you remember Korea was going to attack us? Do you remember Y2K? Do you remember the Iraq people? Do you remember the African gangs were going to attack us? None of that happened. Every year, there were people like you suckered into being part of an imaginary enemy to keep you consuming and in control, to call for a bigger budget. Lifestyle-related diseases. How many people got morbidly obese, alcoholics, and vitamin D deficient, clinically depressed? How many families are broken up? How many relationships destroyed? How many people became obsessed with sex with their computer? This is Franco. This gentleman here, this big boy, this overweight gentleman who cuts people open for a living because they were sitting around being fat fucking cunts. This is one of the most ignorant comparison examples I've ever heard. Is that comparing myocardial infection with chronic kidney failure? Right. Quite a few patients are critically unwell from totally preventable viral infection, government measures. Okay, so how come the government never said one thing about obesity, one thing about vitamin D deficiency? Never mentioned that. Social isolation is the biggest punishment you can give someone in the world. There's no further crime there's no more punishment than social isolation. Fear mongering. How much money you spend on these diseases, right? If you actually cared about these, why is alcohol legal? Why is tobacco legal? Why is McDonald's legal? If you actually cared about it, why is there no warning on cheeseburgers? I know you love honey cakes. If you're so obsessed with people's health, why is there no food warnings on Monster energy drinks, Coca-Cola, all these disgusting things that just make poor people fat and disgusting so you can cut them open and you feel like a big boy and you can get big car loans and get white women, make you feel fucking better about yourself? Yeah, that's what Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is an investor in the vaccine industry. He kept pushing vaccines because he makes money out of it. He feels like a big boy. He can get a big house. He can get his child hookers. The difference is by the common flu. The flu kills people. Why even make it famous? Why need to talk about it? Why do you need to push this fear? Do you understand where I'm coming from? The idea, imagine if no one talked about it. It would have gone away. Fear is the real virus. It's the stress, cortisol. Releasing cortisol is a chemical. You are pumping cortisol in people's bodies to restrict their breath, to keep them in fear. You are pumping cortisol. You are pumping poison into human beings. Human beings are made in the image of God. The most beautiful thing in this known universe is a human being. We are precious. We are magical beings. See, that's funny that there's these alcoholic comedians called the Unemployed Uninspired, and they are getting paid millions of dollars to promote gambling, to promote hedonism, just pleasure without any responsibility. Hedonism, enjoy, pleasure, drink beer, gamble, drink beer, gamble. Unseen virus with a 99.9% recovery. It only damages you if you're a fat fucking cunt. $500,000 people every year. How many comorbidities did they have? 'Just getting started. Yeah, you fucking loved it, didn't you? You loved it. Gives me an excuse. So you can chat to little boys online. So that wasn't a personal attack, it's a comparison how ecstasy dealing actually has a lot of instant side effects to people. And it's well documented that overdose of ecstasy and just the fact that it's hedonism and having the fact that nothing is achieved. The idea of just having this pleasure with no responsibility. Now, what he's talking about is that I had a pug who came into my car. I tried to find the owner. It was in Fitzroy and I was at the gym. And in the car park, it had no collar, and it was covered in soot and dirt. And I went around, looked for the owner, knocked on doors, couldn't see anyone. Right? No tag. Bring it home, and I just come over a 7-year breakup. Right? And I had these guys come to my workplace, which is a bar, and said, "Chevy's got my dog," because they had camera footage from the Good Life. And they seen that there was me with the dog, who literally jumped into my car. The dog jumped into my ar with no collar, right? And they told the authorities, and the authorities had my Facebook, and they seen who I am, and I had where I worked. And so this guy is saying that this is comparable. Ecstasy dealer, someone that killing people, versus someone who had a dog for a week and didn't return it. Now, I admit it was wrong not to return it, but I didn't know where to return it to. It was neglected. It was on the streets, and I just come off a vulnerable breakup. And I admit I was wrong in keeping the dog, keeping the pug. But hell, no one's perfect, and I would have given that dog a better life.